Welcome to Worldview. I'm Simon McGregor Wood in Jerusalem.
Hi, I'm Clarissa Ward in Baghdad.
I'm Nick Schifrin in Manali, India.
I'm Lara Satrakian in Jeddah.
I'm Dana Hughes in Kenya.
Hi, I'm Juhi Cho in Seoul.
I'm Margaret Conley in Indonesia.
I'm Karen Russo in Mumbai, India during monsoon season.
I'm Sonia Gallego for Worldview here in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil.
I'm Lama Hassan in London. Coming up on the show today, our digital reporters send in stories they've been working on, from protests in Seoul to reaction from Africa on Robert Mugabe's re-election. But we begin in Israel with some developing news, and ABC's Simon McGregor Wood joins us now from Jerusalem. Thank you very much for being with us today. Let's begin with this report that an Iranian man has been sentenced to death for spying for Israel. What more can you tell us about that story?
That's right, Lama. A very serious case for him because the death sentence has been imposed by an Iranian revolutionary court. And the details are sketchy. The Israeli authorities, of course, claim no knowledge of this man and the accusations that he worked for Mossad for several years. He's been arrested 18 months ago, and the allegation is that he was recruited by 3 Israeli Mossad agents posing as international bankers. This man was a high-tech expert dealing with importing a computer and telecommunications equipment into Iran, and the accusation from the Iranian Revolutionary Court was that he was working on behalf of Mossad, perhaps even spying on Iran's nuclear program. He has 20 days to appeal his case, his verdict.
And what's the reaction been on the ground in Israel?
A very little reaction. There's some coverage here in the newspapers, but because there's a traditional veil of silence over allegations of Mossad activity, and certainly none of the Israeli government spokespeople who normally talk on these security issues are refusing to comment, so there's very little for the Israeli public to go on other than the broad details which are reported on the international agencies.
Okay, moving on, Simon, to these reports that Israel is about to strike Iran. Are they beating the war drums?
Well, if you believe everything you hear in the Israeli press, there seems to be an increasing clamour, doesn't there? An increase in the rhetoric and the intensity of these stories that are being leaked from the Pentagon and from other Western intelligence agencies. Again, the Israelis are very tight-lipped about what plans they may have in place for a future attack on Iran. But some of the Israeli defense analysts I spoke to this morning clearly suggest that some of the things that we've been reporting about, for example, the enriched uranium process at Natanz, achieving mass production, and the possible arrival of very sophisticated Russian anti-aircraft missiles in Iran, all of these would be considered significant Iranian achievements and would focus Israeli attention, if it wasn't already focused, on the possibility of Iran achieving its nuclear weapon ambitions. So clearly there's a lot of tension in the air here, and most Israelis you talk to are very clear. They would be expecting their air force and their military to be planning for every possibility.
And Simon, what about the military exercises that Israel took part in recently? Was that just a warning to Iran?
That's one interpretation of them. It adds to the clamour, and some analysts will tell you that releasing information about a significant Israeli military exercise is part of the process of sending signals to the Iranian regime that Israel and its allies, the United States and others in the region, are thinking very seriously about taking matters into their own hands if the Iranians don't stop their headlong rush towards the nuclear program.
And finally, Simon, if I could ask you about the talks between Israel and Syria, because we've been reporting on them here on Worldview. How far are they now, and how are they doing?
Well, again, it's very difficult to understand exactly what the two sides are talking about, but today in Turkey, for the third time, a team of Syrian and Israeli negotiators are sitting down, not together, in separate hotels, using Turkish mediators, shuttling between the two sets of negotiators, inching towards the possibility of direct talks. Now, what we're talking about, of course, is the exchange of the Golan Heights for a full peace treaty with Syria. It's a big deal. Both Prime Minister Ehud Olmert and the Syrian President Bashar Assad have publicly stated they're fully behind this process.
All right, Simon, thank you very much for joining us. That was ABC's Simon McGregor Wood joining us from Jerusalem. Turning to Iraq now, on Monday, the oil ministry said it was open to foreign investment and wants to develop 6 of its most important oil fields. ABC's Clarissa Ward is here to tell us more. Clarissa.
Hi, Lama. The Iraqi government yesterday announcing that it will award 6 major oil fields to international companies. Hussein al-Shahrastani, the Iraqi oil ministry, said that it would start to look at bids from 35 different international firms who have qualified to participate. Iraq has some of the largest oil reserves in the world, but currently most of those are untapped. That's largely because the infrastructure here is desperately dilapidated after years of sanctions and war. Shahrastani said that he hopes in the next 5 years to nearly double production from a current rate of 2.5 million barrels a day to 4.5 million barrels a day in 5 years' time. Now, Shahrastani didn't mention the award of several short-term contracts. These are technical assistance contracts. They are designed to help improve existing technology and provide technical support, and those were expected to be given to a handful of Western oil giants, among them Chevron, Exxon, and Shell. There has been criticism here in the Arab world because those short-term contracts did not go under any bidding process, and so there's been criticism of the lack of transparency behind the awarding of those contracts. Shahrastani says they will now be signed later this month. Now, what's interesting about yesterday's announcement is that it appears to ignore the oil law altogether. That oil law, or hydrocarbon law as it's known here, was approved by the Iraqi cabinet last year, but the Iraqi parliament has never passed it, that due in part to squabbling over how the revenues of Iraq's oil will be divided throughout the country. So a lot of people questioning now, is there even a need for an oil law? And also many people wondering how the profits from these major long-term oil contracts will indeed be spent. Lama?
Thanks, Clarissa. That was ABC's Clarissa Ward reporting from Baghdad. We have to take a short break, but don't go away because coming up, stories from our digital reporters. Stay with us.